Greetings and salutations, students of Biblical Greek. We continue our study of N. Clayton Croy's Primer of Biblical Greek by looking at Lesson 7. We're going to learn about the verb eimi, the intransitive verb I am. We're also going to learn about personal pronouns. So let's get to it. N. Clayton Croy begins Lesson 7 with a brief introduction to enclitics. Now, we've already seen proclitics back in pages 22 and 23, which refer to monosyllabic words associated with a following word and therefore take no accent. What happens with proclitics is they lean into the accentuation of the word immediately following. For example, halagos. The ha, the demonstrative, not the demonstrative pronoun, the definite article ha, has no accent, even though it's a separate word. It's a monosyllabic word, and so it's sort of, the accentuation just leans into the next word, halagos. So it's almost like you say it kind of together. Or ukakues. The accent leans into the next word. Enclitics are words related to the preceding words that they often require no accent of their own. The most frequent example of an enclitic in the New Testament is the verb eimi, which is why Croy brings it up on this particular occasion of Lesson 7, where the real focus is on this verb eimi. So eimi in the first person present active indicative is translated I am. A, you are. Estin, he, she, it is. Esmen, we are. Este, you are. Asin, they are. Now, eimi, you may notice, is what's called an intransitive verb, meaning that it cannot govern an object. The intransitive eimi will occur with a predicate nominative. What this means is that as we've been learning about case, nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative, you should be growing accustomed when you see a verb to look for the nominative, which is going to be the subject of the verb, as well as looking for the accusative, which is going to be your direct object. So the nominative, the subject, is going to be the person or thing that is performing the verb, the action, and the direct object is the thing on which the action is performed. But when you come to eimi, an intransitive verb, you don't have a direct object, you have a predicate nominative. And the predicate nominative is also going to be in the nominative case. So this is important when you have a phrase like halagas estin theos. You'll notice in this particular example that halagas is the nominative and theos is also in the nominative case. Why does that matter? Well, when you look at this sentence, you could think, well, I could translate God is the word or the word is God. How do I know what my subject is and what the predicate nominative? The definite article is going to help you figure that out. So halagas estin theos could also be written theos estin halagos, and in both of these examples, you would translate it as the word is God. The subject is halagos because it's identified by the definite article. Even though both logos and theos occur in the nominative case, the predicate nominative, that is what is being predicated about the subject, is going to not have that definite article. So that's how you're going to tell the difference. So as you're looking to translate eimi, amen, eimi, a, estin, esmen, este, asin, these forms of the verb to be, this intransitive verb to be, is, are, you have to recognize that you're not looking for an accusative to be the direct object. You're looking for a predicate nominative, which will be, of course, in the nominative case. So important grammatical point. The next basic part of this lesson is personal pronouns. Pronouns are words that take the place of nouns. They replace nouns. Often pronouns refer to nouns already mentioned. So the noun to which a pronoun refers is called the antecedent. So for example, in the sentence, we see brothers and we speak to them, brothers is the antecedent to the pronoun them. So them here refers back to brothers. This is the pronoun, them, and brothers is your antecedent. In Greek, a pronoun will always agree with the noun it replaces in number and gender, but not necessarily case. So when we look at this example in Greek, we see the brothers and we speak to them. Okay, we have brothers. Now, in this first clause, blepamen tous adelphus, you'll notice that we see, subject is built into the verb, blepamen. Tous adelphus, adelphus is in what case? The accusative case, because it's the direct object. The brothers is the object of the sight. The subject is I, the verb is seeing, or we, the plural of the first person. We see. What do we see? We see brothers, direct object. And we speak to them. Now, in the second clause, we speak to them. We don't get a direct object of the speech. We don't know what it is that we say, but we get the indirect object. And so the them refers back to the brothers. And notice brothers here is accusative masculine plural. With autois, we also have a masculine plural pronoun, because pronouns always agree with the nouns that with their antecedent in number, plural, and gender, masculine. But this case, we have a dative pronoun because the case of the pronoun is governed by its function in the sentence, not the antecedent. So the noun brothers is masculine, plural, in the accusative case because it's the direct object of the first clause. Because the antecedent is masculine and plural, so too is the pronoun them, but the case has changed from the accusative to the dative. The reason for the change is that the pronoun serves as the indirect object of the verb in the second clause. So the case of the pronoun is determined by its function in the clause, while the gender and number is dictated by the noun that it replaces. Now, if you're sitting there going, Tyler, you just said a bunch of pronoun, antecedent, grammar language that I don't understand, just look at some examples in our translation sentences this week, and you'll begin to see how this works in practice. So what are some of the pronouns that you need to learn? The first person, nominative singular, ego. Famously, when you see Jesus in the Gospel of John saying, I am, ego, eimi, I am. In the genitive, emu or mu. In the dative, emoi or moi. In the accusative, eme or me. In the nominative plural, we, hemes. In the genitive plural, hemon. In the dative plural, hemin. In the accusative, hemas. So these first persons, I, we, us, that's the first person pronoun. You also have the second person, the nominative singular, you, su. The genitive, su, or su, without the accent because it can be an enclitic. Dative, to you, soy, again, sometimes without the accent. You in the accusative, se. Nominative, humes. Genitive, humon. Dative, humin. Accusative, humas. Now you'll notice, humas, you, is exactly like the first person plural, hemas, except instead of the upsilon, you have an eta. Now here's why that matters. The one letter difference changes it from you to we. This is a really easy scribal error to make, and I know that from personal experience of having written a lot of Greek practice and review sentences, a lot of Greek sentences, and when my mind sees a first person plural or a second person plural, sometimes I just write the other one. It's just easy to do because they look so similar, and your brain sometimes just fills in what it thinks it's supposed to see there. This is helpful for thinking about things like scribal errors when we get to the next semester and we talk about text criticism. So, third person pronouns. So we've talked about first person, I, we, second person, you, y'all. Now for third person, he, she, and it. Now, because these pronouns can refer to masculine nouns, to feminine nouns, or to neuter nouns, just like we saw with the definite article, they appear in all four cases, singular and plural, in masculine, feminine, and neuter. But you'll notice, if you're thinking, Tyler, I have to memorize more endings? Actually, you don't. Because what you'll notice is that the endings of all of these third-person pronouns are the same as the endings for the definite article. So if you remember your definite article, with the exception of the first person singular, ha, hey, ta, in the neuter, you can see autas, autu, auto, auton, autoi, auton, autois, autus. So in each of these cases, if you remember what the definite article is, you're going to notice the ending of that out is exactly the same as what you see with the definite article, with the exception of the third person masculine singular. Autas is not the same as ha. Otherwise, it's the same. So just recognize, oh, I'm not learning a new type of ending. It's like the endings I've already seen. All right, so what are some of the characteristics of pronouns? Pronouns can be used like adjectives. They can be substantival, so they can function as the nouns to avoid monotony. Right? So this happens in writing where you don't want to just say Jesus said this and then Jesus said that and then Jesus did this. So what will sometimes happen is instead of restating the name, the name will simply be replaced with a pronoun. He went there, he said that, whatever. You also have the antecedent. Pronouns can replace preceding nouns sharing person and number, but not case, because the case is determined by the function of the pronoun in the clause. So something else to recognize. Pronouns can be emphatic because pronouns are built into the verbs, right? So when we say blepomen, we're saying we see. You don't have to say hey mace blepomen. If you add hey mace, you're doing it for emphasis. You also can have we see, ego Amy, I am. You can just say Amy. They can also be genitive possessives, so his heart, cardia autu, or her soul, suke autes. So depending on how you, if you want to talk about a noun belonging to someone, then you're going to use a genitive possessive. There's also the attributive adjectival autos. So this is going to be particular with the third person. So you can have, just like we see with attributive adjectives, he autos, apostolos, is the same apostle, or ha apostolos, ha autos, the same apostle. So the key here is that the definite article, ha, is in front of the pronoun. Now, you can have the definite article in front of the pronoun and the noun, as in example B, or just in front of the pronoun. But if you have that instance where the definite article is in front of the pronoun, then it's going to be the same. It's attributing the apostle, the very same one, the same apostle. It can also be used as a predicate. So ha apostolos autos. In this case, the key distinction is, again, the location of the definite article. In this case, the definite article is in front of the noun and not the pronoun, right? The noun and not the pronoun. In these predicate instances, it will be the apostle himself. Now, it's important to recognize, how do I know if the predicate goes with, if this pronoun goes with the noun? You have to think about case, number, and gender. Because pronouns, if they're in these attributive positions, just like we see with adjectives, will always agree with the nouns in the attributive or the predicate position in case number and gender, right? So if you wanted to say his apostle, ha apostolos, autu, that is not the apostle himself. That is the apostle of him, because we switch from the nominative case to the genitive case. So this is one of the things to keep in mind, is you're going to see a lot of these possessives. So you have to really pay attention to case. If it's being used, if the pronoun is being used as an attributive adjective or as a predicate, it's going to be in the exact same case number and gender as the noun that it's attributing or predicating. So just keep in mind, you have to really pay attention. What case am I looking at? Not just in nouns, but also adjectives and now pronouns. We have to drill down into our brains. Case, number, gender. Am I looking at a nominative, a genitive, a dative, or an accusative? Is it singular? Is it plural? And masculine, feminine, or neuter? And the gender, again, is about thinking about what function is this pronoun serving in the sentence? What nouns does it relate to? What is the antecedent to this? And that will really help us as we're thinking about, all right, what do I see going on with this particular verb? So that is lesson 7 for N. Clayton Croy's Primer of Biblical Greek. We've introduced the use of eimi, the verb to be, I am. We've also introduced the use of pronouns, first person, second person, and third person pronouns.